So let me share my screen. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You are audible.
Yes.
We can see your slide.
Yes, the screen is visible. Yes. Should we wait for other participants to join, or we'll go ahead with the discussions?
I think you can start slowly. They will be logging in one by one.
Okay.
Sir, you are not audible.
Oh, I'm very sorry.
I think you can share the full screen. Then it will be easier.
Yeah, yeah. But whenever I'm just trying to make it full, it is getting disconnected. I don't know why. Very difficult problem I'm coming across today. Mm,
Share entire screen.
yeah. Now the screen is shared, huh?
Yes, yes, that is there.
You could see the full screen now. Hello.
No, the full screen is not there. It is still in that one. I think you share entire screen and then you can
Okay, okay, okay.
share entire screen. You go to that option.
Yeah, yeah, I got you.
Yes. Now
Yeah,
yes, yes. Now it's fine.
that's fine. So what I was conveying is that we'll be discussing the points, and in the meantime, if you have any queries, you can go ahead with the queries without any hesitation, because the format of our discussion will be interactive one, and just because it is a sort of after lunch, so there is highly likely that some of us will taking a nap on our position. So it will be very nice if we make it interactive one. So discrete mathematical modeling, a very typical topic as it seems. And discrete, the meaning is like something which is finite and something which could be countable. Okay, we can count the numbers, then it's called discrete. And modeling means that to describe a situation in reality. Okay, and the purpose of modeling is to solve a problem or question in that situation. So I would repeat, modeling is describing a situation in reality for the purpose of solving a problem or question in that situation. Okay. So basically, we'll be talking about the real world problems, and the objects or entities involved in that problems could be counted. That's why it is discrete mathematical modeling. Yeah. Am I audible? Sonivar sir? some of the participants may acknowledge that whether I'm audible.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So the outline is that we'll be talking about the motivation, then we'll look at the real world problems, and looking at that those problems will make some perspectives. Then we'll try to understand the theme involved in discrete mathematical modeling. Then we'll try to relate the theme to interesting problems. And it's not easy to teach children. So how effectively and sensibly relate the theme to interesting real world problems, that is the key. Okay, again, I'd like to repeat that whenever we'll deal with any kind of model or any kind of mathematical phenomena or mathematical approach, then we have to be effective and we have to be sensible. Effective in the sense that we have to relate the theme of the model, I mean, the theme of the mathematical approach to a real-time problem. Okay, and the problem must be interesting, and the problem should be touchy to the children. And what kind of problem we have to take up, again, that depends upon what kind of audience you have, whether those are junior students or middle level student or high school student and so on. So this is our outline in the upcoming discussion. And I have taken this motivation. I mean, I got this motivation from going through a research paper, and the research paper title is Discrete Mathematics in Primary and Secondary Schools in the United States. It published in a journal in April 2004. Okay, so there are two objectives to teach discrete mathematics to students. Okay, one objective is that for the student who has been unsuccessful with mathematics, it offers the possibility for success. And the second objective is that for the talented student who has lost interest in mathematics, it offers the possibility of challenge. Okay, so whenever talented students got something challenging, then they really got enthusiastic in their approach actually. So there are two objectives they have researched upon, and it is mentioned in this source. You can go through the whole paper if some of you are interested. Okay, so the whole idea is we can generate enthusiasm. In other words, we can engage the students in mathematics, involving them in discrete mathematics actually. So discrete mathematics is a branch of mathematics, and it is a different flavor that will come across as we proceed further. Okay. So how it is beneficial for the teacher? Because the teacher has now a new opportunity to teach them in a new way and to present them a different aspect of mathematics altogether. Okay. So it is going beyond the traditional way of teaching mathematics, because the main flavor in this discrete mathematics is to connect the mathematical phenomena so that we can count the objects involved in that situation and relate to the real world problem. That's the motivation. And one more motivation is from our current education policy 2020. So there are two things. Whenever I refer something in toto from some reference like research papers or some official documents, then I put the double quote. So here are two stuff in double quote. It says that it is recognized that mathematics and mathematical thinking will be very important for India's future and India's leadership role in the numerous upcoming fields and professions that will involve artificial intelligence, machine learning, and data science. So that mathematics and computational thinking will be given increased emphasis throughout the school years, starting from foundational stage to high school stage. So we have to employ the innovative methods. And while we'll employ innovative methods, we have to keep in mind that we have to use puzzles and games regularly so that the classes will be enjoyable and engaging. So here is a problem. Okay, Königsberg is a city. It is located in erstwhile Prussia, but now it is in Russia. Okay, so it's a very typical city which has two land masses. In fact, four land masses: A, B, C, D. As you look, okay, on the left side you could see the picture, old map of the Königsberg city. And there is a folklore that how could a citizen take a walk through the town in such a way that each bridge would be crossed exactly once? And it was an unsolved problem for many years. Okay. Now lately in 1750s, there is a mathematician called Euler, 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 who tried to solve this problem by using some kind of approach. Okay. What kind of approach that we'll see further in further slides. So in this problem, there is a restriction that reaching an island or mainland bank other than via one of the bridges is not acceptable, and accessing any bridge without crossing to its other end is also not acceptable. Okay, so with these two constraints, we have to solve the problem. And what is the problem? I would like to repeat. We have to walk through the town in such a way that each bridge would be crossed exactly once. Okay, and at the same point of time, you could visit all the land masses A, B, C, D. Okay, A and D are two islands, and C and B are the mainland parts. And here is a queue, and there are many people there in the queue. Let's assume that they are in a ticket counter. Okay, and you pose this question. I mean, show this figure to the students and ask that what kind of question you can raise from here. So I have a question for you, that when the last person in the queue wants to count the number of persons ahead of him, how does he count? Because we never know how many people are in front of me. Clear? Isn't it interesting? Let me go across to some of the participants just to ask that other than this question, is there any question to be posed? Any questions?
Participants, any questions?
I'm asking the participants that looking at the picture, could you conceive some question in your mind? Again, I would like to repeat that there are many people there. Assume that it's a ticket counter. People are waiting for their turn to come so that they can book a ticket or reserve a ticket. Now, the interesting question is that it's given there on the slide. If someone on the last wants to know how many people are there in front of me, suppose someone is very impatient, he doesn't have any patience anymore, and he wants to know how many people are there, so that how quickly my turn will come. So that is a curiosity. So he wanted to count the number of people in front of him. How does he count? If he leaves his position, then somebody may come in and he may lose his position. So he's not interested to move anymore. So moving out anymore, how does he count? Okay, so that's a typical question. We'll solve this question further. Okay. Now here we have a map. Okay, so we want to color them. So whenever we color a map, we know that the two adjacent territory must have different color, so that we can identify the boundaries. Okay, so it is very easy to draw the colors, but if there is a constraint that what is the minimum number of colors we could use, okay, that's called chromatic number, that the minimum number of colors I need to color the map. Okay, let me color for you, because you'll be sleeping otherwise. It's a very tough time, 3:38 for the timing. So let me choose a color. I hope you could see the screen. You could see the screen, isn't it? Suppose I choose a color. Whether my screen is visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes. I choose a color and I put there here. and I choose the same color I'm trying to put here, and it's showing a message that you cannot use the same color here because it is already in one of the neighboring areas. So I cannot put the same color here. I cannot put the same color. So I try to put this color here. Getting a point? Now this area and this area cannot be blue anymore. Okay, and this area and this area cannot be red anymore. So I have to choose a third color to put here, and the same color to put here. Get a point? Now, now let's pick up some other color, or should I go ahead with the same color? So far we have chosen first three colors. Clear? Should I choose a fourth color? Even if I choose this color, I can put here. So far we have three colors, and if I choose my old color, I put here. So far I am trying to use as minimum colors as possible. Okay, and I can use this color here. So far three colors. I'm trying to minimize my colors to be used, and at this point of time again I can put red, and here I can put green, and so far I have only three colors. Clear? Now tell me that, can I use blue here? Yes, we can use blue here. Now the idea is, for this region to be color, I cannot put my all three colors that are red, blue, and green. Again, I would like to repeat. I hope I can show you the region I wanted to color now, and that region could not be colored using either of the colors that are already used. Okay, so I'm bound to choose a fourth color. Get a point? I'm bound to choose a fourth color, and I can put here. Now this being the isolated region, I can put any color because I have two more options. I can put here red, or I can put a green here. Whether my marker is visible, please, one of the participants should acknowledge. Yes, no?
Yes.
Whether my mouse pointer is visible, I'm pointing to a region in the map.
Yes, sir.
Yes, that's great.
Visible, sir.
So the pointed region must have two options, either red or green, not
Green.
orange or blue. Yeah, green or red I can use, isn't it? Yeah, green or red I can use. So nice. There is a message called nice. That does mean that we could color the map with four colors. Okay, so the minimum colors that are needed is being used, but if I end up using five colors, that will not be an efficient approach. Okay, so why I'm telling these problems to you? That is the main theme behind this discrete mathematical modeling. So far, I presented you three problems, if I'm not wrong. The first problem is I show you a the Königsberg city, which has two islands, four land masses A, B, C, D, and seven bridges, and we have to walk through the city so that each bridge will be crossed exactly once. Then the second problem is we are in a queue, and the last individual in the queue wants to count the number of persons in front of him. Third is, how do I color the map? Again, coloring the map is easy if I have as many colors as possible. I mean, if I have many colors available. But if there is a question, if there is a constraint, a condition that you have to use only minimum number of colors, then you are in a tricky position, and you have to think it logically how to solve this problem. And the minimum number of colors to color a graph is called chromatic number. Now look at this problem. Look at this. I call it connections and networks, road and rail networks, because of so much traffic these days, rampant traffic, we need to redesign our roads and even bridges, and over, complicated bridges are coming up. And there is also an example of friendship in social networks like Facebook and Twitter, Instagram, and so on. In Facebook, suppose in my account I have 3,000 friends, and if I pick up one more friend, then he has 200 friends. Okay, now the relationship uh, uh, with my friend is direct, that I am his friend and he is my friend, and the question is how many mutual friends we have, and it could be counted. Okay, so that is a kind of problem. And we have computer chips. Okay, if you have seen the motherboard of a computer, you have seen that there are many circuits connected, interconnected with each other. How the signal flows, that's a very, very big task. And similarly, supply chains, we have many cities interconnected. We have to deliver the commodities effectively with less cost involved and so on. So that is also a optimization problem. We have to optimize the resources that are need to be involved. Okay, so all these problems are involved with connections. In other words, connections are nothing but networks. And neural connections is also very, very popular these days. Oh, okay, there are many models based on the function of the brain, and there are billion neurons in our brain. So neuron is a basic brain cell. So there are billion of cells interconnected. Then only my brain or your brain is functioning. Okay, so whenever we suffer from some disease, some mental disorder, or some kind of brain disease, then we have to look into those networks and we have to come up with a solution. And internet is there. Internet is nothing but again connections. Billions of users are interconnected, and billions of users are taking data from a data center. So these problems are posing threat in terms of computations, in terms of data security, your privacy, and many more problems. That's why there is a question that how these real world problems, which are very trendy in nature, could be related to discrete modeling. And for your curiosity, I would say that these are all our burning areas of research and burning areas of uh, mathematical approach these days. That's why there is a there is a policy, across the world to teach mathematics in a different way to the kids. There are policies in US, there are policies in Europe, and eventually there is a policy in the country of ours that we have to teach mathematical in an innovative way and giving emphasis to mathematics so that the students could understand the real world problems better. And they will be the future leaders, they will be the future decision makers. So if we set their career and their mental ability effectively, then we'll have a very bright future ahead. That's the main thing behind teaching this kind of mathematics to the students. What is key is innovative way of teaching, yeah? Sensible teaching. What do you mean by sensible? Sensible means we cannot bring in an irrelevant topic to our discussion. That's the sensible. Otherwise, we will waste time. And the students are also carried away with other things. Okay? And effectively, it does mean that how relevant my problem is and how I present to my students that they could engage themselves with all enthusiasm, all curiosity, and so on. Okay. If you're feeling a nap, if you're feeling like sleeping, then you can ask questions. So far, if you have any doubts, please let me go across to the participants. And if you have any doubts or queries in your mind, please do not hesitate. Go ahead with your questions. Okay, I hope there is no question. Now, Now we have looked into many problems. Before we go for the solutions, I will define what is discrete. Okay. So we come across so much data, So the data can have certain values. I mean, data can only take certain values. For example, the number of students in a class, you can't have half a student. If I ask how many students are there in a class, you'll say 40, 30, 60, 70, some integer. You will not say some real number, some fractional value. Okay. And discrete does mean that discrete data is not continuous data. Okay. So data could be of two types, qualitative and quantitative. And quantitative data could be discrete or continuous. Okay. So all the problems that I have displayed you, or I have conveyed to you, involve the discrete numbers, the integers, in fact, or the numbers which could be counted. And the models that we are discussing now do not use the continuous values. Continuous values does mean fractions. So a little more clarity on what is discrete mathematics, because we'll be talking about discrete mathematical structures. Okay. So apparently, discrete math is not the name of a branch of mathematics like number theory, algebra, calculus, etc. Rather, it is a description of set of branches of math that all have in common the feature that they are discrete rather than continuous. Okay. So here is an example. An analog clock could be continuous because it's a 360-degree clock. Okay. The set of times that it can solve is not only dense, but it can even tell you when it is 5 o'clock. So it involves 0 to 360 degree, and any fractional value could be representing my time. But a digital clock is discrete. I can say it's 10:38 or 3:35 and so on. So my minute is integer, my hour is integer, and so on. So discrete math concerns sets of objects that are countable, and continuous math deals with objects that are measurable. Okay, and continuous values, which are in other words known as real values or fractional values, are not countable. Though they are measurable, they are not countable. Okay. So what could be the possible branch of mathematics where I have the discrete values involved? Here is a list. Okay. So discrete mathematics is the study of mathematical structures that are countable or otherwise distinct or separable. Okay. So there are many topics: graph theory, logic and Boolean algebra, set theory, relations and functions, sequence and series, algorithms and theory of computation, number theory, matrix theory, counting, and so on. And I'm sure out of these many topics have been discussed with you, which is also part of discrete mathematics modeling. But they are presented to you with the heading like computational thinking, or with the heading like algorithms, or with the heading like iterations, or with the heading like how to teach programming and coding to students, and so on. So there will be overlapping nature of all these mathematical concepts. So you should not have a very hard and fast definition what is discrete mathematics and what is not. Okay, but it is for sure that discrete mathematics is an area where we do not use continuous values. Otherwise, there is so much overlapping in their principles. Okay, and let me go across to the participants just to make sure that how many of you are mathematicians or have a mathematical background. Please raise your hand. There are 14 participants so far. I want how many of you, I want to see how many of you have mathematics connection, or mathematical background. Only Sixa madam has raised her hand, and I expect many more. So I would like to, I'd like to see the maximum number of hands possible,
सर क्लास 10th तक मैथ था
क्लास 10 तक ना, हाँ फिर भी
जी
without any Ritu, Meena madam also raised hand, Prag Jyoti, any more? Okay. The question is, even if you do not have a mathematical background, still if you have some interest, you can take up this subject even at the later point of time. It's not too late, And there is always a question that whenever you teach some kind of mathematics, now we drag in programming. So there is always a question that if a student doesn't have a computer, how you teach this kind of mathematics which comes up with programming flavor? Okay. So in that case, also my answer is that you can practice the mathematics and programming without computer as well. What you need is the logic. And what we need is those mathematical structures to be discussed. And using the logic and those mathematical structures, you can get a solution without a computer as well. Okay. And for your surprise, I would say that programming could be done without a computer, just to learn the logic and just to make sure that you have rightly delivered the desired result. But whenever scale is the requirement, then we need a computer. Scalability. For example, if I ask you, can you sort 10 numbers? Then you can come up with a very sound logic to sort 10 numbers. But when I ask you, can you sort 1 lakh numbers? Then you need a computer. I mean, your same logic and program will need to be run in a computer. Then only you can get the result at that point of time. So I would make a point here, which is very, very important, and you should note down, is that you should not make it a problem. I mean, you should not make it a scarce resource that without computer you cannot teach students programming or discrete mathematics or computational thinking approaches. You can, but whenever scale is required, and scalability is not required in our school, scalability is required in industries, in manufacturing units, in scientific laboratories, and so on. So scale is not a criteria in our schoolroom. So we should promote our students with all varieties of programming and mathematical approaches, which really involve computation. Okay. Now let me go back to my slide. It's nice to hear from you that 3 or 4 of you have mathematical background. Still you can pursue this kind of computational thinking. No harm with that. Okay. Now here is a solution to my first problem. Okay, here is a solution to my first problem. Let me use my pen. Okay. See, C is the landscape. Sorry, the landmass. Let me increase my pen. Okay. A is a landmass, B is a landmass, D is a landmass. And this A, B, C, D are called vertex, So the landmass are assumed as vertex, and the connections are called edges. See how simple this problem is. But this problem had been there unsolved for many, many years, But only in 1735, the Swiss mathematician called Euler presented a solution for this problem. Okay, and see, from A to C there are 2 edges because landmass A is connected to C through 2 bridges, Please, some of you acknowledge that whether my screen is visible. I'm using some colors. Could you see the pens and colors?
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Yes. So this is one solution. We can present to the students that if the problem is, even if on a bigger problem that could be solved with very simple approach, And this is one approach called discrete mathematical approach, because the number of edges are finite, the number of vertices are finite. Okay? The plural of vertex is vertices. So this structure is called graph. Okay, remember, this structure is called graph, and you may come across graph in two occasions. That is called graph by using bars or histograms and so on. Okay, like this. Or you may have seen graphs by plotting the functions like this. This may be my f of x, and this is my x. So these graphs are for data analysis. But this graph is something different. It is called combinatorial graph, which involves a structure or a topology. Topology means the way I connect my nodes, and nodes are called vertex, and the connections are called edges. So by completing this, we can visit all the vertex exactly visiting the bridge once. Okay, the bridge must not be visited twice. This is a solution. And for further studies, you can go through this 7 bridge Kunsberg solution problem. Okay. Now, here I would like to present you something called tree and graph. Because as I told you that graph is the solution to my Kunsberg problem, then a similar thing is there that's called tree. Okay. So a tree and graph are similar because both are collection of two sets of stuff. One set is called vertices, the other is called edges. Okay. They're similar. The definition, as per the definition, they are similar in some sense, but in some different sense, they are different. Okay. The tree must not have a circuit. It must not have multiple edges. It must not have loops. Where my graph may have all these three components. Okay. So let me show you how it could be possible. If there are different nodes, okay, I connect these nodes. Okay, I connect these nodes. And you see there are two circuits. ABC is a circuit, CEB is a circuit. These are examples of circuits. And what is loop? If I start from B and again reach to B, that's a loop. Okay, it's an example of loop. What is called multiple edges? If I have edges running from C to E and C to E twice. Just in previous example, in the previous example, you see, just because A and C land masses are connected by two bridges, I have two multiple edges connecting to the same two vertices. So these are the examples of the key terminologies. Okay, one is loop, one is circuit, and this is an example of multiple edge. So graph, which is known as combinatorial graph, is a very, very popular discrete mathematical structure. And by using this structure, we can solve many varieties of problems. Okay. And I can connect the other nodes as well. Okay. So this is one example of graph. So the graph is collection of vertices, a set of vertices called A, B, C, D, E, and F, and set of edges as well. Okay, I can call this E1, E2, E3, E4, E5, E6, E7, E8. So 8 edges we have. But this again, you should not be confused. I should erase this word here. So this is an example of a graph, and by using this discrete structure, you will come up with the very first solution of graph theory and solving a very, very long pending unsolved problem. See how this approach is simple, yet it could solve very, very difficult problems. Okay, and how the tree is different from graph. The tree can have also the nodes like this, but it cannot have circuit. It has no circuit. It must not have no circuit. It must not have multiple edges. Okay, and it must not have any kind of loops. This is the example. Okay, let me go across to some of you. Please raise your hand. How many of you come across this kind of discrete structure for the first time ever? Please raise your hand. Just it's a disturbance if you are taking a nap. Don't mind, please. I would like to request all the participants to raise their hands. Those who have come across this kind of discrete structure for the first time ever. No one is raising their hand. Does mean all of you have come across this first time? Yes or no? Okay, it seems like. Should I proceed further if you do not have any questions so far? Do you have any questions so far? Okay. Now I'll go back. This is one solution. Okay, the first problem I have shown you in the very beginning of our discussion, that this problem could be solved by using a graph and by putting the graph in this way. Okay, now let's go back to this problem. Okay, what is this problem all about? Okay, so this problem is known as recursion. And recursion is one more discrete structure or discrete approach. Okay, we have finite entities involved. This is the guy. Let me use some different color. Let me use a this is the guy, and he wants to count the number of person in front of him. So what does he do? He asks this individual that how many people are in front of there. She says no idea. Then she passes a message to him. How many guys in front of you? No idea. Then he passes the information, and this information has been passed. And whenever this information is here, she has also no idea that how many people are there in front of him. Again, she passes the information, and again he passes the information. And this old guy is very curiously waiting for the ticket counter boy to come in. So he also says that no idea. But whenever the message is received by this person, and the message there are how many number of persons in front of you, he says that no, I am the only one in the queue. I'm only one in front of the ticket counter. Okay. Now this guy says that okay, it must be two. Okay. Now having this two information from this guy, he assumes that he's the number 3. Then he passes the information. Now the information now in the reverse flow. Now C assumes it is 4. Now C assumes it is 5, it is 6, it is 7, and this way the message is passed back to the source where it started, and the solution is what? This is 7, this is 8, this is 9, this is 10, and this is 11. Now this guy understands that, okay, I'm 11th in number. Get the point? So this is called recursion, you see. It seems very, very fundamental, but this is a very, very powerful method in computer science and in computational thinking field, you know. Did you understand what I'm saying? The message is forwarded, and every time there is no solution at that individual. The solution is undefined because he doesn't know. He doesn't know what the answer. He doesn't know what's the answer whenever I'm on the forwarding page. But while the message is in the reverse process, I mean in the reverse way, now every person has some answer. And that answer is reversed back to the person behind him or her. And eventually it reaches to the guy who has initiated the process. And he got the solution. This is called recursion. How many of you understand this recursion meaning? Let me go across to the audience panel just to know that how many of you could understand. Are you getting bored? Did you understand this concept, recursion? So, okay, Arvind sir has understood the concept. Very good. Ritu madam, did you understand? Section Aurel madam, did you understand?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Very good. And some other guys also raised their hand in some point of time. Prayag or something, Prayag Jyoti. I think he has left the panel now. Okay. So what did we conclude here? The conclusion is that every time, I mean, in a forward phase, whenever the message is going, the same message is going. Okay. And every time my answer is unresolved, sorry, my question is unresolved. And whenever my messages are reversed back, then I'm getting some answer. So every time I'm doing a similar task. So this, if I do a similar task, then it's called recursion. But at the same point of time, there is a definition that called looping. In the looping also we are doing the same thing. Okay. So there must be some difference. So the difference is in their structure, and that is called discrete structure. Okay. That's why in this slide, I am trying to convince you that what is recursion and what is loop. Okay. So what is recursion and what is loop? The same thing we are doing. So for that reason, we are solving a problem called Fibonacci sequence. Okay. And let me tell you, in modern day, even though the discrete mathematical concept is covering a wide spectrum of topics, but they really pinpoint on 4 things. One is graph, second is recursion, and third is iteration. So these are the three most popular discrete structures in present days. So this recursion and iteration seems to be very, very similar, and we'll try to understand by putting different structures for recursion and iteration. So at this point of time, I would like to tell you that this slide is not the way to teach the students. But being a teacher, I must clarify in my mind that what does a discrete structure is all about. Then only I can come up with my innovative idea so that I can effectively and sensibly present to the student. So the main purpose of this slide is, at this present slide is, to understand the difference between recursion and iteration. Clear? So the Fibonacci sequence is just to adding two numbers. It starts with 0 and 1. Okay. Now these two added, I got a result 1. Now the last two added, I got the result 2. Next two added, I got the result 3. Then 2 and 3 added, we are getting 5. 3 and 5 added, we are getting 8. 5 and 8 added, we are getting 13. 13 plus 8, we are getting 21. So every time I'm adding two preceding numbers. Okay. Two preceding numbers. So how do I do that? Zero and 1. This is 1. 1 added 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, and so on. So initially, I have A equal to 0 and B equal to 1. So I can write C equal to A plus B. Okay. This is called my first attempt or initial attempt. It's called iteration 1. Okay. My C is 1 and I printed C. Okay. And before that, I want to print AB also. So 0, 1, and 1 printed so far. Now, in my iteration 2, what should I do? Again, I have to decide what is my A, what is my B. Then I can add A plus B. So what is my A here? Tell me. My B becomes A and my C becomes B. Get my point? So what was my B? 1. So A becomes 1. What is my C? 1. So B becomes 1. And C is what? 2. So I can print 2. Iteration 2 is over. Now in iteration 3, what to do?
A is equal to 1, B is equal to 2.
A equal to B means
B is
this
equal
B will be put A equal to 1 and B C. So this is 2 and C equal to A plus B equal to 3. So this is how we do the iteration. Okay. So what will be recursion? That does mean that we can start a loop, and in that loop, every time what I do, I can put the B value into A and the C value into B and C equal to A plus B, and I can print C. And this should be continuously in the loop. Every instance of the loop is called iteration. Okay. So this loop may run 20 times or 30 times, depending upon how many numbers I want to print in my sequence. Okay, nth term. If I want to print nth term, then this loop will be run n minus 2 times. Okay, or n minus 3 times, n minus 2 times, because already my 0 and 1 is printed. Okay, this is what we call iteration or looping. I hope this you are listening multiple times, because the nature of the course is as such that many things will be compared. So you may come across the concepts to be discussed multiple times. So, but do not worry, it's a kind of revision for those who are learning the things newly. And if those are listening it multiple times, they come up with a different innovative idea to present this. Okay. And what is the recursion here? The recursion says that if I want to print 5 terms, then I can pass the parameter to a function. Okay, what is function? It's very difficult to understand for a layman what is function. Function is some task. Okay, function is a task. I may attend a marriage function. That is also function. A musical function, a mathematical function, a quiz function, a debate function, and so on. So function is nothing but a task. So here we have a discrete function which involves countable numbers, and a function is a task, which needs, of course, inputs to be processed. So if this is the case, then what should I write? If this is my term, if this is the 5th term, tell me, suppose this is my first term, second term, third term, fourth term, and 5th term. Okay, so the 5th term, I mean the last individual in the queue. Okay, you say this is my reservation counter. Okay, and these are the 5 guys standing. And of course, he's the last individual. And he wants to know how many people are there. Okay, I'm just relating this problem of Fibonacci sequence to the problem that we discussed in the very beginning. Let me show you the problem once more. Again, I'm relating this problem with this. Okay, see how a reservation counter Q could be related to a sequence problem called Fibonacci sequence. Similarly, how we can relate this bridge problem to a graph. This is called discrete approach. Okay, so these are the discrete structures. Graph is a discrete structure. Tree is a discrete structure. Okay, just now I presented a solution in the form of a graph for Konigsberg problem, and similarly we'll also use in our forthcoming discussions how the tree could be made use of to solve real-world problems. Okay, so let me go back to this problem. Whether my screen is visible? Let me go across to.
Yes, sir.
Yes, that's good. Very good response. I hope most of you are not taking the nap. Okay, that's great. So how many participants are there? 16 only. So the number increased. Good. Let me go to my discussion point. Here is the last individual. So whenever I want to calculate my fifth term, I have no idea what the fourth term is, and I have no idea what the third term is. You know, see, I'm approaching my guys in front of me, but no idea. And these four will be asking to the third person and the second person. So here it's a very typical stuff, because one person is approaching two guys. No, isn't it? It is just a modification of my real world example. He's asking two guys, because the definition of the problem in Fibonacci sequence is to add two preceding numbers. Okay. Similarly, here is fib2, fib1. Okay, this fib1 is called fib1 and fib0. Okay, this is called fib1 and fib0. Again, this will be called. So this is going on. So what is the end point, you know? This is n minus 1 and n minus 2. So certainly fib1, I will not expand the fib1. Look at the nodes. Okay. So you look at the nodes. This is expanded. This is expanded. This is expanded. Expanded means it has a left part. It has a right part. This is expanded, 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 expanded. Okay. So this is expanded. This could also be expanded. Okay. And fib1, fib0 is not expanded. Let me color them. Okay. So those colors are nothing but childs, you know. So this is a tree now, because there is no loop, there is no circuit, there is no multiple edges. So it satisfies the condition of, satisfies the definition of the tree. So this is a tree. And this tree is the outcome of a recursion procedure. So it's called a recursion tree, you know. Of course, it's a tree, it's a discrete structure. Get my point? And you look at the nodes colored with this olive color. Okay, so the all olive colored nodes are known as children nodes, child nodes, you can say, because they have no more child. They are the end nodes in my tree, so they are called child nodes. And this is called parent node because it has, it's called parent node because it has two children. Okay, so the problem is, as such, every node has at most two children. Okay, and some point of time, some nodes has no children, and they are called child nodes. So this is how we solve the problem. So how the problem is solved? Okay, so fib 1 will give me the answer 1. See, this node will give me answer 1, this node will give me 0. This 0, 1, this fib 2 will give me 0 plus 1. This fib 3 will give me 1 plus 1, fib 2 and fib 1, 2. Okay, this fib 3 will give me fib 4 and fib 2. What is fib 2? We know that 1 plus 2 is 3, then 5. Get an point? And the fifth term is printed. So this is how we do. But the demerit of this recursion is that the computation is done multiple times. For example, say this circle fib 3 is calculated twice. See, here it is. Okay. So in this discussion, our scope of this discussion is not to pinpoint what is the demerit of recursion, but to understand recursion. But for your information, I'll tell you that this kind of multiple calculations could be avoided by using a concept called dynamic programming. Okay, but that is not the scope of the discussion. That's why I'm avoiding that. What I am presenting you is that recursion is a discrete mathematical approach, and for Fibonacci sequence, you could visualize the approach like this. Okay, and you could solve the problem. Just it's the analogy of the reservation counter problem. And here you can say that computational storage is required for this kind of calculation, because a student may ask you a question. Because this node is there, this node is there. And here my answer is undefined, I do not have my answer. Here also my answer is undefined. Here also my answer is undefined. And suppose I got the answer here. And I pass the answer here to the upward. Similarly, we got the answer here now. And this answer could be passed above, and we get the answer here. And we got here and got the answer here, and so on. Okay, so these things are going to be stored in memory. Then only we can come back and reprocess. Whenever I'm going down, I save them in memory. Okay, whenever I'm going down, I save them in memory. Okay, and whenever I'm going up, because I got the solution at the bottom of the tree, and by making use of all the solutions I'm coming up, I'm making use of those memories, already stored memory content. Okay, and that memory is called stack. Okay, we can also call stack as a discrete structure. So from computational perspective, we can talk so many things in one go, but I would stop here just to convey a message that I try to differentiate between what is a recursion structure and what is an iteration. That's all. And I hope you understand this. So far, as part of our discrete structure or discrete modeling discussions, we talked of 3 models. One is recursion model, one is graph, and the other is called tree. So the tree and recursion are similar. Okay, similar, but the principle involved in recursion really makes use of a tree. That's all. Otherwise, tree has also a very vast scope to relate it to many other problems as well. We'll talk about that now. Okay. And before I go for further discussion about tree and its application in solving real world problems, I would like to ask you, if you have any questions, please go ahead with the queries.
Sir,
How many Okay, there is a query. Good question. Please go ahead.
Sir, in that slide, when you have shown fib 5, then you have written fib 3 and 4, like 4 and 3.
Let
Yes.
me increase my volume. Your voice is not audible. Now, please repeat the question.
Sir, in that slide, when you have written fib 5, then you have written fib 3 and 4, na sir? एक बार once again, please show that thing. Next one.
Yeah, yeah.
Sir, fib 3 and fib 4, na sir?
हाँ.
Then fib 4 means, मतलब it is coming from fib 0 to fib 1, मतलब channel of command. A channel of command from 0 to 1
Actually,
coming
क्या
to
है?
fib 4.
Okay. Let me clarify this in some other page. See, this is the fifth number, na? Suppose fifth number, and let's say this is my 0th number, है ना? So in between, what numbers I have? 0, 1 is my first number, second number, third number, fourth number, and fifth number. Okay. So in Fibonacci sequence, this is 0, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3. Sorry, very sorry. This is 2, sorry, 1, this is 2, this is 3, and this is 5. Okay. So whenever I'm referring, because this is the last individual who initiates the process, no? So this process says that the preceding two numbers could be fourth one and third one. Am I clear now?
Yes, sir. When we correlate that problem, that of reservation counter, a man at the fifth number place asking for total number of total strength.
Yeah.
Then he asked to fourth position. Fourth position.
But here
Fourth
we are
position asked to third, na?
Yeah. That in the simple reservation counter, the fifth person is only asking to the fourth one. Okay, but you just slightly modify the problem. Okay, because every problem could not be mapped to another problem 100%. No, so slightly rectify the problem of reservation counter. Okay, in what sense? Because in Fibonacci sequence, the fifth individual, if I say this is an individual, is taking help of two preceding individuals, no? Got the point?
I get it. Means fifth will say to third and fourth position.
Exactly.
How many people behind you?
No. How many people behind you? Not. It's not like that. Fifth one is asking the fourth that what is your content, and fifth one is also asking the three that what is your content, and this says that we have no idea about our content. No idea. Okay, now.
Oh.
So if they have no idea, they need to be expanded.
मतलब फिफ्थ वाला फोर्थ वाले से कहेगा कि आपका कंटेंट तो वही ना सर कि नंबर ऑफ पीपल बिहाइंड यू।
नहीं, क्योंकि फिबोनाची सीक्वेंस में नंबर ऑफ पीपल बिहाइंड यू नहीं है ना। फिबोनाची सीक्वेंस में आपके आगे का दो ही कितना है बताइए।
मतलब पीछे के कितने हैं?
हाँ, पीछे के
बिहाइंड में कितने हैं?
हाँ, बिहाइंड एग्जैक्टली। देखिए ये फिफ्थ वाला पूछ रहा है फोर्थ को कि आपके आगे का दो के बारे में आपको कुछ खबर है, पूछ रहा है। हाँ, तो फोर्थ वाला बोल रहा है ना, ठीक है। और फिफ्थ वाला थ्री कोई पूछ रहा है आपके सामने जो दो हैं आपके खबर है कुछ, वो बोलता है ना, ठीक है। ना बोल के फिर ये क्या करेंगे, फिर अपने दो को पूछेंगे सामने का। फोर्थ वाला किसको पूछेगा? 3 और 2 को पूछेगा, ठीक है। आंसर क्या मिलेगा? नो नो। फिर 3 वाला किसको पूछेगा? 2 को पूछेगा और 1 को पूछेगा, ठीक है। तो 1 को पूछने से 1 वाला बोलेगा यस, क्योंकि ये हमारा दो बेसिक इंफॉर्मेशन है, दो बेसिक इनपुट है ना। हाँ, इसको बोलते हैं बेस कंडीशन इन रिकर्सन। मैं बहुत कुछ ज्यादा टेक्निकल टर्म यूज नहीं कर रहा हूँ, बिकॉज आवर ऑब्जेक्टिव इन टुडेस क्लास इज जस्ट टू लेट यू नो द concepts, okay, no more technical terminologies, but in technically because you wanted to know it's more elaborately, this is called base condition, मतलब input। तो अभी क्या बोलेगा, 1 वाला कहेगा कि हाँ हमको पता है हमारा वैल्यू 1 है, ठीक है। तो 2 को एक इंफॉर्मेशन मिल गया 1 और 0 भी मिल गया 2 को, तो ये भी यस कहेगा। जैसे यस यस कह देंगे, 2 क्या कहेगा, अपना वैल्यू पता कर लेगा इसका ऐड करके। जैसे 2 का वैल्यू पता चल जाता है, 3 को पता चल जाएगा कि हाँ हम ये दोनों को मिला के हम हमारा वैल्यू पता चल जाएगा, समझ रहे हैं ना। जैसे ही 3 को पता चल गया, 4 बोलेगा हाँ चलो अभी ये दोनों का वैल्यू यूज करके मेरे को पता हो जाएगा, और 5th वाला भी कहेगा हाँ ये दोनों का वैल्यू पता होने से मुझे भी हो जाएगा, समझ रहे हैं ना। तो रिजर्वेशन काउंटर में हमारा क्या होता है, एक ही आदमी को पूछते थे कि आपका वैल्यू क्या है ना, वो सामने की तरफ से खबर लेता था। और अभी ये फिबोनाची सीक्वेंस में हम 2 को पूछ रहे हैं कि आपका वैल्यू क्या है, समझ रहे हैं ना। एम आई क्लियर नाउ? क्लियर सर?
जी सर।
ओके, वेरी गुड, वेरी गुड।
मतलब ये एक कॉम्प्लिकेटेड मतलब हम लोग इस प्रॉब्लम को जैसे और भी जैसे वो कर सकते हैं, कॉम्प्लिकेटेड एक तरह से जो प्रॉब्लम्स हैं उनको हम लोग सिंप्लीफाई कर सकते हैं।
हाँ, सिंप्लीफाई कर सकते हैं। और ये प्रॉब्लम कहाँ कहाँ जरूरी है पता है, मैं बताता हूँ। ये प्रॉब्लम वहाँ जरूरी है जब आपके पास सोल्यूशन नहीं है इमीडिएट सामने वालों को पूछ के, और वो सिमिलर ऑपरेशन है हमको आगे तक करना है, वो पूरा अंत तक पहुंचने तक। अगर अंत तक पहुंच गए तो वहां से खबर हमको मिलना शुरू हो जाएगा, वो फिर रिवर्स वे में आएगा, ठीक है। रिवर्स वे में आने से जहां से हमारा प्रोसेस इनिशिएट हुआ था वहां तक पहुंच जाएगा, और रिवर्स वे में आते आते हमारा सोल्यूशन बनते जाएगा, ठीक है ना। और टेक्निकली, मोर टेक्निकली इट्स कॉल्ड एज ए फंक्शन कॉलिंग इटसेल्फ। फंक्शन क्या है, एज ए लेमन, फंक्शन मतलब कोई टास्क है। अगर वही टास्क अपने आप में ही चल रहा है तो उसको बोलते हैं रिकर्सन, ठीक है ना, सिमिलर टास्क। तो आप बोलेंगे कि लूप का लूप में क्यों ये हो रहा है, मैंने यू नो लूप में आपका भी तो सिमिलर ही काम हो रहा है ना। सेम ब्लॉक ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन रिपीटेडली एग्जीक्यूटेड, समझ में आ रहा है। यहाँ भी सेम इंफॉर्मेशन रिपीटेडली एग्जीक्यूटेड, तो डिफरेंस क्या है बताइए आप तो देखे हैं, ये भी देखे हैं और वो वाला भी देखे हैं, तो डिफरेंस बताएंगे कोई भी। देखिए ये भी आइटरेशन में बताया ना, ये वाला आइटरेशन देखिए, ये जो सेम ब्लॉक ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन को हम रिपीटेडली एग्जीक्यूट किए, लेकिन
रिप्रेजेंटेशन, केवल रिप्रेजेंटेशन में फर्क है। हाँ। एक तो लैंग्वेज में लिख रहे हैं और दूसरा उसको मतलब ट्री डायग्राम में बना रहे हैं।
हाँ, आप पार्टली करेक्ट हैं। और उसके बाद भी और बहुत क्लैरिटी के साथ अगर कहेंगे, ये दोनों में फर्क ये है कि दिस इज कंप्लीटली, आई मीन एन ऑब्जर्वेशन, people have different definitions and different way to represent, लेकिन एज ए लेमैन आप देखेंगे इसमें काउंटर है, यू नो, उसमें आपको पता है कि आपको ये 5 बार ही चलाना है करके, समझ रहे हैं। इसमें आपको पता है कि आपको n-2 टाइम ही चलाने से आपका सारा सीक्वेंस का पता हो जाएगा, ठीक है। लेकिन आपका रिकर्सन में काउंट कितना काउंट है आपको नहीं पता, आपको लास्ट स्टेज पता है, ठीक है, आपको लास्ट स्टेज पता है, लेकिन आगे कहां तक बढ़ेगा आपको नहीं पता।
बिल्कुल इसमें काउंटर फिक्स है। हाँ। 5 तक की काउंटिंग चलेगी, n=5। हाँ। और पीछे में वो काउंटर नहीं है, उसका अंत नहीं है। हाँ। मतलब वो इनफाइनाइट
इसका इनफाइनाइट नहीं कहेंगे, अगेन फाइनाइट, लेकिन हमें पता नहीं है, अनसीन है।
फाइनाइट, अच्छा फाइनाइट कैसे मिलेगा सर?
ये अनसीन है। फाइनाइट इसीलिए है कि हमारा इनपुट फाइनाइट है, तो है ना।
नहीं,
हमारा
यहाँ तो 5 है ना, यहाँ तो इनपुट आपका 5 है,
हाँ, यहाँ
मगर
पे भी
जो
5
आपका
है, वहाँ पे भी
इटरेशन
5 है, लेकिन वहाँ काउंटर चल रहा है और यहाँ काउंटर नहीं चल के एक बेस कंडीशन चल रहा है, ठीक है। वहाँ काउंटर इसलिए चल रहा है कि यहाँ देखिए आइट्रेशन में काउंटर चलता है, देखिए यहाँ प्रोसेस शुरू हुआ, काउंट इक्वल टू 1, काउंट इक्वल टू 2, काउंट इक्वल टू 3, है ना। आपका जब काउंट खत्म हो जाएगा, सपोज आपको काउंट इक्वल टू n मिल गया, आप स्टॉप कर दिए, है ना। आपका उसमें क्या होगा, एक इनपुट मिलेगा, ठीक है, जो कि फाइनाइट है, आपको पता है। अगर वो इनपुट फाइनाइट है तो आप जहां भी आप डेस्टिनेशन तक जाइए, ठीक है ना। अगर आपका इनपुट ही फाइनाइट है तो आपका उसी फाइनाइट के अंदर ही आपका सारा काम होगा। तो आप नहीं कह सकते हैं कि आपको इन्फाइनाइट तक जा सकते हैं। आप कह सकते हैं कि अनडिफाइंड समय तक आप जा सकते हैं, आपको डिफाइन नहीं किया गया है, ठीक है। इन्फाइनाइट रॉन्ग होगा, ठीक है। इन मैथमेटिकल टर्म्स अनडिफाइंड कह सकते हैं।
अनडिफाइंड। हाँ,
हाँ,
ये जो
अनडिफाइंड
मतलब
कहेंगे।
सर इनपुट फाइनाइट है मींस
हाँ
हमारा 0 और 1 वही पता है ना आपको?
हाँ हाँ, नहीं इनपुट जो है यहाँ हमारा इनपुट 5 है, एक
अच्छा।
इनपुट 5 है फिफ्थ टर्म तक, और एक इनपुट 0 और 1 है। बेसिकली 3 इनपुट दिया गया है
जी।
ये एल्गोरिदम को। इनपुट 1 इज 0, इनपुट 1 इज 1, दे आर द वेरी फर्स्ट टू
काउंटर,
नंबर्स ऑफ फिबोनाची सीक्वेंस।
तो यहाँ भी तो आपने काउंटर लगा दिया फिर 5।
नहीं, 5 तो काउंटर नहीं है, 5 इज काइंड ऑफ माय फिफ्थ टर्म, ठीक है। मैं बेसिकली आप काउंटर कह सकते हैं, इनडायरेक्टली काउंटर ही है, लेकिन यहाँ काउंटर क्या है, एक्सक्लूसिवली बढ़ रहा है, समझ रहे हैं ना, एक्सक्लूसिवली बढ़ा रहे हैं आप काउंटर
यहाँ भी
इज।
c इज इक्वल टू 5 तक जा सकते हैं वहाँ।
आपको मैं कहूँगा काउंटर इज एक्सप्लिसिटली, मैंने आपको दिख रहा है, ठीक है। काउंटर इज एक्सप्लिसिटली इंक्रीमेंटेड और डिक्रीमेंटेड, क्योंकि कोई कोई सोल्यूशन में आपको डिक्रीमेंट भी किया जा सकता है डिपेंडिंग अपॉन द फ्लेवर ऑफ द प्रॉब्लम, और ठीक है। यहाँ काउंटर इज एक्सप्लिसिटली इंक्रीमेंटेड और डिक्रीमेंटेड, यहाँ काउंटर इज इम्प्लिसिट, आपको दिख नहीं रहा है। काउंटर इज इम्प्लिसिट आपको इसीलिए दिख नहीं रहा है क्योंकि आपको हर आइट्रेशन और हर इंस्टेंस कहिए, हर इंस्टेंस में आपका प्रॉब्लम जो अनडिफाइंड है। क्योंकि आप जब पूछेंगे कि मेरा फिबोनाची का फिफ्थ टर्म क्या है, तब आपको नेक्स्ट आइट्रेशन में पूछा जाएगा कि 4 का और 3 का आपको पता है क्या, ठीक है। ये अनडिफाइंड है, नो डाउट एक काउंटर घटा यहाँ पे, है ना। क्यों घटा, क्योंकि ये भी एक वैल्यू घटा ना, यहाँ n माइनस, अगर इसको हम n कहेंगे, दिस इज n माइनस 1 एंड दिस इज n माइनस 2, है ना। काउंटर घट रहा है, नो डाउट। सो हम कहेंगे काउंटर इज इम्प्लिसिट, है ना, इम्प्लिसिट हमें दिख नहीं रहा है। हियर काउंटर इज एक्सप्लिसिट, क्योंकि हम काउंटर को बढ़ा रहे हैं, क्योंकि बेस्ड ऑन द काउंटर्स वैल्यू ओनली माय लूप इज either सक्सेसफुल और फेलियर। यहाँ ऐसा नहीं है, यहाँ आपको बेस्ट कंडीशन तक आना पड़ेगा। तो कहीं ना कहीं काउंटर ही लेके आ रहा है, बट दैट काउंटर इज नॉट सीन बिकॉज एवरी प्रॉब्लम इज अनडिफाइंड।
हाँ, एक शब्द उसको शब्द की वो क्या यूनिफॉर्म पहना देंगे, इम्प्लिसिट और एक्सप्लिसिट, बाकी तो काम तो वही कर रहा है।
हाँ, काम वही कर रहा है, लेकिन अगर आप और भी बहुत सारा चीज देखेंगे कंप्यूटर साइंस पर्सपेक्टिव में, तो रिकर्सन इज मच मोर बेनिफिशियल। तो है ना, वो प्रोग्रामेटिक प्रिंसिपल्स हैं, उसको कहते हैं प्रिंसिपल ऑफ प्रोग्रामिंग लैंग्वेज। ओके, सो बेस्ड ऑन दैट प्रिंसिपल, मैं अभी ज़्यादा ये सब में कहूँगा तो फिर जो हमारा लेमैन लिसनर है वो बोर हो जाएंगे, है ना। आप जब इसमें और ज़्यादा जानने का इच्छा होगा, हम कंटेक्ट में रहेंगे, है ना। सो द आइडिया इज recursion is much more beneficial whenever we are dealing with large number of inputs in computers, you know, because of many reasons, and those reasons are based on the principles of programming language, and those principles are the kind of parameters we are saving, okay, and the kind of memory we are using and so on. यहाँ एक स्टार्ट करके एक मेमोरी यूज करते हैं, ठीक है, और हमारा जो फंक्शन पैरामीटर पासिंग जो है बहुत इफेक्टिव एंड सो ऑन, मेनी थिंग्स इन्वॉल्व. सो रिकर्सन इज मच मोर बेनिफिशियल डिपेंडिंग अपॉन द प्रॉब्लम यू हैव. ओके, और एक मैं चीज यहाँ बताना चाहूंगा, हर प्रॉब्लम को रिकर्सन यूज करके आप सॉल्व नहीं कर सकते, ठीक है, क्योंकि इस तरह का सिमिलरिटी होगा तभी करेंगे ना, नहीं तो हर प्रॉब्लम का आप नहीं कर सकते रिकर्सन यूज करके. तो रिकर्सन यूज करने के लिए आपको देखना होगा कि हर आइटरेशन में और हर इंस्टेंस में हमको सिमिलर वे ऑफ ऑपरेशन हो रहा है तभी जाके करेंगे, ठीक है.
जी सर. और अच्छा सर, कोनिक्सबर्ग का जो ब्रिज है,
हाँ,
सर उसको जरा एक बार ब्रीफ कर दीजिए. इनमें से कोई मेथड जो उसमें है सर.
कौन सा
कोनिक्सबर्ग ब्रिज जो अभी कोनिक्सबर्ग वाला
ओ कनिक्सबर्ग ना, कनिक्सबर्ग अलग प्रॉब्लम है. मैं आपको और एक चीज बताना
उससे क्या
चाहूंगा.
मतलब उसका क्या हम
हाँ.
लोग इसमें कुछ
हाँ,
है इसका
मैं
मतलब
बताता
हम इसकी
हूँ.
योग्यता कर पाएंगे?
नहीं, कनिक्सबर्ग प्रॉब्लम का फ्लेवर ये है कि वी यूज्ड ए discrete structure called graph. ठीक है,
जी सर.
और यहाँ हमारा क्यू वाला प्रॉब्लम में हम क्या किए, रिकर्सन करके एक मेथड यूज किए, और दिस रिकर्सन इज इनडायरेक्टली यूजिंग अनदर डिस्क्रीट स्ट्रक्चर कॉल्ड ट्री, है ना, वो इनडायरेक्टली यूज कर रहा है.
जी जी.
हम ट्री का डायरेक्ट यूज भी करेंगे अभी, ओके, हम डायरेक्ट यूज करेंगे ट्री का इन सम प्रॉब्लम नाउ, ओके, and that will be dealing with some kind of problem called हम कहेंगे ये प्रॉब्लम को हम डिफाइन करेंगे, डायरेक्ट यूज करेंगे ट्री का, ठीक है. और एक चीज हम कहेंगे जो ग्राफ का प्रॉब्लम, ग्राफ कलरिंग का,
जी.
अगर हम कहेंगे इसको मैप कलरिंग कहेंगे. मैप कलरिंग प्रॉब्लम कन्वर्टेड टू ए ग्राफ प्रॉब्लम. ओके, बेसिकली हम ये जानना चाहते हैं कि एक्चुअल में डिस्क्रीट स्ट्रक्चर होता क्या है, इसलिए हम तरह तरह का प्रॉब्लम डिस्कशन कर रहे हैं. ओके, तो ये सब प्रॉब्लम करके हम कहाँ डिस्क्रीट स्ट्रक्चर, क्या क्या डिस्क्रीट स्ट्रक्चर जाने, हम लोग ये सब ग्राफ डिस्क्रीट स्ट्रक्चर जाने, रिकर्सन करके स्ट्रक्चर जाने, ट्री करके स्ट्रक्चर जाने. 3 तरह का ग्राफ, रिकर्सन एंड ट्री, ठीक है ना. अगर ये बेसिक आप लोगों को अच्छा लगेगा तो यू कैन एक्सप्लोर मच मोर, है ना. और रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी हम लोगों से ज्यादा आपका है क्योंकि हम तो बड़े बच्चों को पढ़ाते हैं, हम कुछ भी पढ़ाते हैं डायरेक्टली, हाँ, लेकिन छोटे बच्चों को पढ़ाना बड़ा मुश्किल है. So once you are clear about the ideas, now your homework or your now big responsibility is that how to come up with new problems, interesting problems, and relate with these structures, graph, recursion, tree, and so on.
एग्जैक्टली सर.
आपका रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी ज्यादा है अभी. तो
हम लोग इसीलिए इसमें पूरी तरह से निपुण होना चाहते हैं.
हाँ, हमारा रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है कि आपको हम कंसेप्ट सिखाएंगे.
जी, वो कॉन्सेप्ट जो डिस्क्रीट मैथमेटिक्स है पढ़ा तो है, एमएससी वगैरह में पढ़ा है.
हाँ, आप तो एमएससी में पढ़े होंगे.
जी, एमएससी में हम लोग को पढ़ाई गई है, मगर
आप एमएससी में तो और एडवांस मेथड पढ़े होंगे, रिकर्सन, ट्री, मास्टर मेथड, है ना. और
वो सारे जो है
रिकरेंस सॉल्यूशन बहुत बड़ा प्रॉब्लम होता है, वो सब करेंगे तो बाकी से बोर हो जाएंगे, एंड दैट इज नॉट स्कोप ऑफ दिस कोर्स एक्चुअली अगेन, है ना. आप कहाँ पढ़ाते हैं सर, त्रिपुरा में ना अरुणाचल में?
मैं यहाँ केवी हैप्पी वैली में हूँ सर, पीजीटी मैथमेटिक्स. जी,
बहुत बड़े सर, बहुत बड़े. अरुणाचल में हैप्पी वैली
शिलोंग में